Right guys, hello, another video for you. Today it's X-Wing Virtual Machine, or XWVM, which takes the original LucasArts X-Wing game of the 1990s and drags it kicking and screaming into the modern day. I want to help you get set up with it, get it going, but I also want to share with you the voice attack profile I've created for XWVM, which helps you get things done with your voice. And lots to talk about. We're doing lots of timestamps to give you chapters to help you find what you want to see. The voice attack stuff will all be at the end, show you how to import my profile and edit it, make it your own. And of course I need to give you these useful links as well, as you'll find all of that in the description of the video or a pinned comment below, whichever's easiest for you to use them. So what we need to do is get you over to moddb.com/mods/XWVM. Now technically the mod is free, but we do need to own the original X-Wing game. Now I still have my original CD from the 1990s. Provided you've still got a CD or a DVD drive, you can extract the files off your disk, get them onto a folder onto your PC, and XWVM can use those files. Or you can get the game on the good old game store, GOG, or on the Steam store. You see that's in red underlined because it's a hyperlink. You can click on these, it will take you straight to the game to make it easier for you. Now before you buy it, I just want to point out the Star Wars franchise almost always comes on sale when Steam does sales, which is very frequently throughout the year. So it will be the summer sale, then the autumn sale, then the winter sale, then the spring sale, then it will be Star Wars Day, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. And it could have flash sales throughout the year as well from certain publishers or developers. So we don't want to be buying the game full price. If it's not reduced when you're watching this video, add the game to your wish list and Steam will tell you once it's discounted. So we don't want to pay £8.50 or whatever it is in dollars. Ideally we want to get X-Wing Special Edition, TIE Fighter as well, and possibly X-Wing Alliance, all three of those for the price of what X-Wing should be. So why do we want TIE Fighter? Because they're saying they'd like to add that into XWVM. TIE Fighter also has a total conversion mod, which put it into the X-Wing Alliance graphics engine. So if you've got X-Wing Alliance, you can do the TIE Fighter mod. And then hopefully TIE Fighter will come into XWVM. So if we could get those free games, that would be fantastic if we could get them cheap. So get X-Wing installed through GOG, through Steam, or extract the files off your CD if you've still got it. And then we need to download the XWVM core software application, whatever you want to call it. And then they say there's a couple of optional downloads. There's the HD Assets Pack, which gives us the higher fidelity graphics and remastered music. I don't really think it's optional. People have put a lot of work into it and have done an incredible job. It's only about 2.5 gigs worth of data to download. It's really honestly worth having. I honestly do recommend it. But then we've also got the in-flight dialogue mod as well, an optional download that adds dialogue during X-Wing missions. So why not have that as well? All this stuff is free once we've bought the game. So just to point out, they do say we're actively working hard to also add TIE Fighter support to XWVM. Fingers crossed, we don't have to wait too long for that. It says the latest public version of XWVM is Alpha 2025-0531. And some of you have already realized that that's a date code. So you might be watching this video in the future and it's not an alpha anymore, it's a beta. Maybe they've called it RC release candidate. I don't know. The name will change. If nothing else, the date code, you could well be downloading a more up-to-date version of XWVM than me. But what alpha means, it's not even beta. They're well aware there are bugs and crashes and there'll be issues, but they feel that it's in a good enough state that people can enjoy it for what it is. And if you find problems, you can join their Discord and you can report them. It's a great community over there. They're very passionate about the game. Even if you don't want to report bugs, you're just struggling with a mission, go over there and chat with people and they'll tell you how they did it. Great group of guys. So just head over there, just join it anyway. So what they give us here is these hyperlinks, whether we want to do this on the Windows operating system, whether we want to do it on the Linux operating system, and we've also got the hyperlink to get those in-flight mission dialogue. So download those zip files. We've then got the hyperlink there for the first steps guide. So that's basically the written tutorial. And there's a hyperlink to get the invite to get onto their Discord server. So you can follow their written guide, the first steps, or some people prefer to watch a video. That's why I'm recording this now. It's really up to you. So what you'll end up with if you're doing it on Windows is these zip files. So I've got the XWVM Alpha 2025-0531. I'm going to extract that out to a folder, whether you do it with Power Archive or WinRAR. However you do it doesn't really matter as long as we get the folder. So when I open that, we've got the execute file that I can run to install the software. Now I'm going to have no problems with this with Windows built-in security. However, some people do use third-party antivirus software, and these tend to flag things as false positives. It looks at what the software is doing and goes, oh, this hooks into an execute file. It must be malicious. It must be malware. Yeah, it must be a Trojan. It must be, you know, nasty. And it's not. It's almost as if this third-party software is basically useless and it's trying to justify its existence, saying everything's bad when it's not. So I don't believe in third-party antivirus software. The best antivirus protection is you. Don't go to dodgy websites downloading random files. Don't click on things in emails from people you don't know. Use a little bit of common sense and you'll be fine. We've run this execute and we are going to read what it says. Don't just keep pressing next. Let's make sure that it's not installing things in the background that we don't want. So it says this is the installer. It will install XWVM Alpha on your system. You need to have a valid compatible game installed. We know that. We've just covered that. It is an independent game engine and does not contain any playable game assets. It tells us the minimum requirements. We must have Windows 10. And yeah, the requirements are pretty light, so we can do next. You might only have a C drive. I have multiple drives. So the V drive to me is an SSD dedicated for all my virtual reality games. I want to do XWVM in VR, so it's going on my V drive. So just read it, keep pressing next. You can see it's only 1.6 gig of free disk space required. That's pretty tiny. Of course, we've got the other game files as well to worry about, but yeah, it's not exactly filling up the drive, is it? So I'm going to cancel it because I've already installed it. And we can go back and we've obviously got our optional downloads. So the HD assets, we'll extract those out. We'll run the execute for that and install that. You can see that's about 2.6 gig worth of data. And then we've got the sidecars. So it gives us the instructions for opening WordPad or Notepad where this global sidecars folder needs to live on your PC, where to copy it to. Super simple, very, very, very easy to get this mod installed. So what we do now is we need to be able to open it up, XWVM. Now what I've chosen to do is pin it to my start menu, so it's there. You can rename it, call it whatever you want, but the reason I've done that is because I want to play it in VR, and I'm going to use virtual desktop to do that wirelessly with the Quest headset. So once I load virtual desktop in the VR headset, it will show my PC desktop, and I can use my VR controllers to go down, open up the start menu and just load XWVM and get into the game really, really quickly, really, really easily through the VR headset. So there's XWVM. You can see we've got the options to start a game or add a game. So if you've installed it through GOG or through Steam, there's a good chance it's going to find the files and the folders automatically for you. If you've extracted them from a physical disk, you may need to help it out and point it towards where the game files are. But you can see it's found on my V drive. There is a GOG, good old games folder. So XVT is X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, but we've got 93, which is the DOS edition, 94, and we've got the 98 Windows re-release. When you click on them, they go green to say that they are perfectly fine and they can be added. So you can do 93, 94, 98. Why have I added in multiple versions of the same game? Well, the first one is actually from the physical disk. I've pointed it towards the files that I manually extracted. The other three are the GOG versions. So what's the difference? Well, for the floppy disk, if we click on that and do game information, it will tell us that we get the DOS 93 models, we get the DOS cutscenes, we get Adlib MIDI soundtrack, we get the Roland MIDI soundtrack, we get the general MIDI soundtrack. What we don't get the 98 OPT models. So they did improve the textures on the Windows re-release in 98. It does actually look significantly better than the original graphics. We won't get the Windows cutscenes, which are basically upscales of the DOS ones. And we also don't get the voiced mission briefings on the floppy disks versus the CD. So we've got the 94 edition. As we scroll down, that comes with the DOS 94 models, the DOS cutscene, AdLib MIDI, general MIDI, and we do get the voice mission briefings, but we don't get the improved textures and we don't get the upscaled Windows cutscenes. So if you're going to install anything, add any game, 98 is probably the way to go, because we've got the option of having the DOS models, excluding the B-Wing expansion. We get the 98 OPT models, the improved textures for the Windows re-release, and we get the Windows cutscenes, but it obviously doesn't bother with the DOS ones because the Windows cutscenes are supposed to be the improvement. So this is probably, of all of the ones that you're going to have, this is probably the one to have. But the reason I have multiple is I could say, okay, maybe I'm feeling really nostalgic today and I'd like to enjoy X-Wing how I played it when I was a teenager. So I could just use 98 for that. These are all our own individual entities. 94, the graphics look garbage by today's standards. So let's mod that one. Let's open that up, go into the settings. So we'll start the game. Let's just do it on 98 as an example. They're going to do their splash screen as a warner that XWVM is free. Don't pay for it. You've got to own the game. It's all rights reserved by the original parties, all that stuff. We've got the cutscene, and then I should be able to press escape to get into the menu. He says. So welcome to the flagship Independence. We can press escape, so we can see I'm using 1998. Game library will take me back where we were, and I can see the ship models requires restart. So I can use the high definition pack we downloaded. I can use the original DOS textures, or I can use the Windows ones. So if I do 94, I could just mod it to be high definition. The Death Star surface detail, all this stuff we can change. The preferred content, whether you want it to be as close to the original as possible, or whether you want the XWVM remastered. We can do the CMD type, select the type of CMD display shown. A classic graph is similar to the original X-Wing display and does not display absolute values or order information. TIE Fighter uses a display similar to TIE Fighter, and later games, classic hybrid does both styles. So it's really up to you what you like the look of. We've got weapon convergence. What does that mean? Well, the X-Wing was famous for having those 4 laser cannons on its wingtips, and as they fire in, convergence means the point that they meet at. So what can happen, like you can shoot and one of your lasers will hit a TIE fighter and the other 3 lasers just go past it. If we turn on the convergence to bullseye, they're going to meet at a point. So when you use the targeting computer, all 4 lasers should hit that point. Some people consider using weapon convergence to be cheating. I don't. But each to their own. You can turn it on or off. It's up to you. So all these extra things we can toggle on or off. And then we do actually get into what they consider to be cheats. So turning off collisions. You can have unlimited weapons. So all of the missiles, all of the torpedoes. Invulnerability, so you can't be shot down. Unlock the armory. We've got extra difficulty as well. So I mean, the game's difficult enough as it is, because old games just always are more difficult than modern games. But you can push that difficulty further if you want. So we've got the balanced laser and shield energy transfer rate. What's that all about? Well, if we go over it, it will tell us. But in essence, recharging lasers was usually faster than trying to recharge your shields. So the trick really was not to bother putting power into shields, because that would slow you down. You just wanted to recharge the lasers, take power from the laser bank and transfer it to boost your shield. So you're only ever recharging those lasers. They will quickly recharge anyway, and you got a quick boost to your shields and do it that way. So you can stop that happening. You can change the balance of it. All of these things you can tweak to make the game how you really want it to be. So we've got audio and a language. Obviously I've muted sound. I don't want any copyright strikes on YouTube because of the excellent music. But you can see you can set up what your speakers are. It would be stereo over headphones. I do have a Dolby Atmos setup, surround sound, so I would like to do at least 5.1 for my setup. We've got the subtitles there, the language. I think someone's just done it in German. Whether that's been added yet, I don't know, but I did see that on the Discord. So we've got the music source, whether you want to use the real-time synthesis or the CD audio tracks or the remastered music. It's up to you. We've got our graphics options, display and video, so you can set the resolution to the native resolution that your monitor is. Have it run full screen, have it run as an exclusive full screen mode, turn VSync on or off, the dynamic resolution, tweak all the qualities. It's really up to you. We've got the camera mode. So people have been asking, how do I play this in VR? This is where you come to the camera mode. So we can enable virtual reality here, save and close, and then next time you load it up, it will come up side by side, because remember, in VR it's stereoscopic, you do get 3D vision. So if you want to do track IR, where you move your head in real life and then your view changes in game because it's following these infrared sensors, that's how you do it, track IR. Open track is an alternative to track IR, and I've actually done a video on that, doing head tracking for free, provided you've got a webcam. I'll link that as like a side note. You can watch that if you want to use open track and AI track together. But if you want to do virtual reality, select it there. So you can do a custom field of view, so on and so on, all the stuff. You just leave it over it and it will give you the explanation of what the option does. So controls and inputs, we can remap the game controls. We'll just quickly talk about VR gaze cursor, as I've just said about VR. So what the gaze cursor is like putting a crosshair down in the middle where you're looking. So if I'm using a gamepad and I've got my VR headset on, I don't need to use the VR controllers. As I look at things, I can push a button to select it, and not having to use a mouse cursor and click. I should point out the VR controllers, it is a clickable cockpit. It's not something I bother with having to go between using a joystick or a gamepad and my VR controllers. A lot of the stuff, I just use my voice and voice attack. I find that just as immersive. But props to them for doing a clickable cockpit. That's very, very cool. So we've got the hyperspace throttle mode. That's something else I don't bother to use. It's just a way to use your throttle to engage into hyperspace. I do this through my voice. I say, yeah, engage hyperdrive or punch it. There's a few phrases I give to end the mission going into hyperspace. So we can remap the game controls. People have been asking, can you use a HOTAS? Can you use a joystick and a throttle? Yes, you can. I haven't got anything connected at the moment. I haven't got my gamepad turned on. If I did, it would say Xbox controller or what have you. So you can calibrate your joystick and you can assign controls, actions to your controller. So we see the actions, they are divided out into categories. We can see what the keyboard press is. We could see what the mouse press would be, and then we could define that to a controller. Now, what I need to point out is that they don't put a keybind by default for everything. So there was an example where I added my own. So yeah, cycle laser power setting reverse, control F9, control and F10, control and F8. I did that. I added those in, and then I also added it into voice attack. The only problem is currently it doesn't work. The buttons get pressed in the virtual cockpit in the X-Wing, but nothing happens. It beeps, but nothing happens. This is a bug, clearly a problem. Hopefully they'll fix it soon, but I added those binds in manually. If you change any of these, it will affect my voice attack profile. Why? Because voice attack works by recognizing a set phrase, and once it hears it and acknowledges it, it will push a keyboard button that it's been told to do. So if you change the default keys, that's going to have a knock-on effect to my profile. Keep that in mind. But you can see this is all done like the targeted section, instruments, it's all divided out into categories to help you find out what's what. I have added in a radial menu, which is super, super helpful. So you can hold down a button on your gamepad and it brings up a menu on the screen. You can use your thumbsticks to select all the wingman commands, to give commands to them easily. That can help in VR if you don't want to do voice attack and you just want to use a gamepad and do all these extra commands through your gamepad. Super, super helpful. So that's the controls. I don't feel like I need to hold your hand for it because it's all pretty self-explanatory. So we've got achievements that they've added. So you can see we've got it for actual XWVM, and then we've got them for the game. So we could get TIE Fighter added and then that will have its own achievements. But XWVM says shooting first, play as a pre-alpha or beta tester. We've got, that's a name I've not heard in a long time, going back to where it all started. That's because I added the DOS version of X-Wing as a game. And then we've got a fine edition where you add a second game to XWVM. So I've obviously added 4 versions of the game. So we've got defaults. If you think you've made a mistake, you've bugged things up, and you want to restore it all back to default settings, you can click that there. It's up to you. We've got the XWVM, so there's the link to get on their Discord server. As I said, really, really, really nice people over there, very enthusiastic about the game. There's a lot of love over there, so go there to report bugs, maybe see what problems people are having already. Maybe you can help people out. Yeah, just a great community. I highly recommend you joining. So we can save our changes and close, cancel the changes, or we can quit back to the desktop. So what I want to do now is talk about voice attack. I'm not going to do an in-depth setup of voice attack because this video is already longer than it needs to be, and there's plenty of videos about voice attack on YouTube already. What I'm going to point out is there's links, so you can go to their website and you can buy it from there, download it from there. I'll give you links to get it off the Steam store. I'm using version 1, but they do a version 2 now on the Steam store. Once you've got it installed, the better your microphone is, the better it's going to understand you. There's also the Windows speech recognition training that you can do. The more you talk to it, you feel a little bit silly talking to yourself, but the more you do that, the better it will understand how you say things and improve the speech recognition. So I'll just give you a few quick tips. If we do the spanner icon for settings, so got general, you can start it on Windows Start, you can have it start minimized, you can have it, load a certain profile straight away. If you only ever use it for XWVM, you can always load that profile. We've got the recognition, so we want to make sure that it is using the microphone we want it to. This is an Antlion Mod mic. It's quite expensive, about £100. It is much better than the one built into my webcam. What I don't want is it set up using that webcam mic all the way over there. I want it to use this one, and that's going to help it understand me. So we can also point out that there is the recognition global hotkeys. You can either do this through the keyboard, you can do this through mouse clicks. I've got quite a nice gaming mouse, so I could do it through the middle mouse click, toggle voice attack on and off. I could do it through the back button on the mouse, and so on. We could do it through a keyboard, so through a joystick, push the talk, hold the button down, say the command, let go, and then voice attack isn't listening anymore. Why is this important? Because some people like to stream, whether it's on Twitch or YouTube or whatever they're doing. They don't want the commands to be confused with a general conversation they're having with somebody in the room or someone that's messaging them in chat whilst they're streaming. If they say eject a few times and then they get thrown out of their X-Wing, that's game over. If they're never meant to say that to voice attack, they were just saying it in a conversation to someone else. So this is here. Lots of people don't seem to be aware that you can toggle voice attack on and off with hotkeys, but that's definitely something that can be done. Right, so I'll give you the link to download my voice attack profile that I've created. Tiny file, won't take you long to download it at all. So it's all very well having it, but we need to get it into voice attack. So what we do is this little icon here, it says more profile actions. We'll click on that and we'll import the profile, and you click on that and you just point it to wherever you've downloaded my file. Once you've imported it, we've now got our drop down window at the top. So you can see I've got some HCS voice packs for Microsoft Flight Sim, Star Citizen, Star Wars Squadrons, Starfield, Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky, so on, DCS World. But I want to select XWVM X-Wing. So now we've got the profile loaded, but what are the commands? So we can go into the edit profile, and it's all pretty self-explanatory, but I'll talk it through. So the first column is the spoken command. I've set these up. So I've set them into categories. So you've got energy management and targeting. If you want to know what to say to do something, it will help you find what you need to say under the categories. The next column gives you a description, so what that command is going to do. And then the last column is the action, so what voice attack will press on a keyboard once it hears that spoken command. So let's edit one, because you might want to change things. You might want to put something from the films. Maybe you don't like the phrases I've done. You wouldn't remember that. That's not how you speak. You'd rather do a different phrase. So like, as an example, the one that's highlighted, we mentioned this earlier about how you can take power from your laser banks to boost the shields. So you can say dump laser power to shields, or you could say dump laser power to deflectors, because in the movie I'm sure they say deflectors double front. I don't remember that they are called shields. Isn't that more of a Star Trek thing? But anyway, if you want to say boost shields, you can do that. You can say boost deflectors. You can say boost deflector screens. I had one of my subscribers say, oh, you do a good job remembering your phrases, your commands, but the trick is I have lots of alternatives, so I'm not having to remember just one phrase to get one thing done. There's multiple phrases which, you know, whatever you say, there's a good chance it's going to get it done. It should all kind of logically make sense, different ways of saying the same thing. Whether it's shields or deflectors, it'll get it done. If you want to change it, you can double click, you could get rid of all of them, or maybe you just want to add something else. So we can do the colon, the dot with the comma underneath it, do a space. So add in your phrase that you'd like to add in, maybe say R2, you know, boost those deflectors, or whatever you want to say. All I would say is that when we're trying to do this stuff, we want to get it done now. So don't make it long phrases. You know, boost deflectors, boost shields is going to be more effective, efficient in a dogfight when you're fighting TIE fighters. If things are a little bit more laid back and calm and you want to do something, well, then you could always have other phrases, because it's not time critical, and it's nice to have variations so you're not always repeating yourself, saying the same thing over and over and over again. It could make you seem a little silly. So add your phrases in. Then we've got the actual commands. So if you're trying to create your own, you can do a key press. So to do this particular function, we have to do left shift and F10, and then you'd press OK. What I've done is do this multiple times. We're trying to boost the shields. I don't want a little bit of energy to go in and then have to say boost shields again, boost shields again, keep repeating myself. So I've had it spam it like 4 times in a row. That's left shift and F10. We've added in a pause, 0.1 of a second, but all that is doing is basically saying, well, we took our finger off the key and now we're going to press it again. So I've done that 4 times. If you think that's too much, you only want it to have done it 3 times, which would mean we'd have more power left in the laser banking for shooting. Right, well, let's just delete those last 2, and that's fine. It's done it 3 times. It's still doing it, just, yeah, not wasting all that laser power. So then you can do OK, and then you can apply that change to the profile. So hopefully that makes sense. You can start adding in your own profiles. Maybe TIE Fighter comes along, you'd like to have a stab yourself. I'd already done this for the TIE Fighter total conversion, but the controls kind of similar, but in some ways are different. So I did actually have quite a lot of this already done, but there were things I had to take out because it just wasn't used in X-Wing. So now you know how to create your own, if at the very least edit mine to something that'll be more usable. So let's leave it there, guys. Have a great day, have a great evening, whatever you choose to do after watching this, and as always, I'll see you when I see you next. Ciao for now.